Hi, I'm George Zyade and I'm the Compassion Protestant Society Executive Director. I started with Compassion Protestant Society at the first day of the year, 1st January 2020, and we can say that Compassion Protestant Society, or CPS, is active in the field in both countries, Lebanon and Syria, since that date. Faithful to our call, Compassion to All, CPS is serving as the diaconal arm for NESL, the National Evangelical Synod of Syria and Lebanon. The first project in the year handled by CPS is the Education Project. The Education Project was managed by NESL since the past 6 years, since 2014. CPS took this project. The challenges were very big during the past year due to the corona or the COVID-19 pandemic that forced us to shut down our schools or to postpone our program for several months. For the education program, currently CPS is managing 4 education centers serving 600 students from different areas across Lebanon. All the students are refugees that they do not have any access to the public schools and definitely not to the private school due to the high cost of the private schools in Lebanon. The 4 areas where our centers exist are basically 2 in north area, 1 in Akkar, Minyara, the second is in Tripoli, north capital, and the third one is in the south, in Sur area, and the fourth one is in Bekaa Valley, Kubilias in specific. These 4 centers are managed by full staff. We have directors, we have teachers, we have supervisors. We do support the transportations for students, and we also provide refreshments on a daily basis. The curriculum that we are handling in this project is basically a mixed curriculum between the Lebanese curriculum and the Syrian curriculum, taking in consideration that these students one day they may be able to return to their home country in Syria, or they will be able to enter a public school in Lebanon. CPS took the decision to start the schools on the 15th of October 2020. We will be taking in consideration all the precautions needed in order to avoid any COVID-19 cases in our centers. This also will require from us to do awareness sessions for the parents and for the children, to launch a small awareness campaign, and to support also with more hygiene kits and more hygiene items that will avoid the students and their parents to go and purchase it in the market, which they are very expensive and they will not be able to do the purchase. This is now our priority in this project. We are doing our best to launch this school year without any issues. Definitely and very soon, by the end of this week, you will be receiving a narrative report from CPS talking about what were the challenges in the past year and how we are planning to move forward with our new school year. Also, definitely we will speak a little bit about the financial stature of this project, which most of our donors are interested to know how we will be managing the funds that we did not use for the past 4 to 5 months due to the school's closure. We also took the decision as CPS to increase the number of our students in these centers, and we have also to manage logistically how we will be doing this. The main reason we need to increase the numbers is that we need to give more children the chance to have access to the education. Our expectation that in the coming weeks the public schools in Lebanon will not be able to host more Syrian refugees children in their schools, and that due to the decision of the Ministry of Education to do 2 shifts, 50% and 50% of the students. So that will cancel the afternoon shift that was dedicated to the Syrian refugees in the past years. So we will be having more children out of the school in this year, and this will put more pressure on our centers to host more students. So we are doing the logistics preparations for this issue in order to handle it. Since February 2020, Lebanon have been facing the COVID-19 pandemic. As CPS, we took the initiative and we started an awareness and preparedness project against the COVID-19. We focused on the Syrian refugees and also on their host communities. This is why CPS in the past months was conducting an awareness sessions in our refugee centers, in our 4 refugee centers, also in the churches that they are the host community for these centers, and we were distributing hygiene kits, and we took the decision to distribute the hygiene kits because not only this is a part of the fight against the COVID-19, but also there was a dramatical increase in the prices of these items in the market, due also the exchange rate crisis that is facing the country now. And so most of the people did not have the access to receive these kits. In the past months, we have managed to distribute up till now 2,000 hygiene kits in 4 different areas in Lebanon, between refugees and between the host community, which we will be saying that 1,000 went to the Lebanese host community or host families, and 1,000 went to the Syrian refugees, based on the families registered in our centers and where their children are having access to their education through our centers. Since October 2019, the country, Lebanon, is facing an economic crisis, and that due many political, economic and social facts. One of them, it was also the COVID-19 and the revolution that started in October. Since that time, people start facing more problems and more issues in their life, and their needs and their priorities have been changed dramatically. Food is one of the basic needs that is a priority for most of the Lebanese families now in the country. This is where, in a very quick way, but taking in consideration all the international organizations and the UN agencies and the governmental donors' policies and regulations, CPS launched their first food security project in Lebanon. Up till now, after 3 months in this project, we have managed to distribute 1,000 food voucher. The main challenge in this project is basically the daily change of the exchange rate. So the project was designed for a certain food basket. The families can go there and the beneficiaries can go and purchase it from the local market. Now, as the prices are increasing, the amount given to these families on monthly basis is not anymore enough. So this package needs to be updated based on the market prices in order to continue supporting every month the basic needs of the most vulnerable families in our churches and between the Syrian refugees. Following this dramatical economic situation, and as a lesson learned from our food security project and COVID-19 awareness and preparedness, CPS took the decision to launch a Relief Lebanon funds. The Relief Lebanon funds is basically a pool of funds where we are receiving several donations, and from these donations we are generating projects as we see there is a need, where we see there is a need. So up till now, Relief Lebanon have managed to support three small projects. The first one is basically we are supporting Nestle schools, Nestle private schools, in their back to school campaign, focusing on the COVID-19 by supporting them with certain amounts to purchase items that will be a type of prevention from the COVID-19 inside their schools. So we are receiving several small projects and we are giving a certain amount of money, and we are making sure to follow up this money is well spent, and we are receiving all the needed reports and the documentation requested from these schools. The second small project we launch is basically in two of our churches. One is in Minyara and the other one is in Dermimes. In these two projects we are supporting by providing for the most needed families and children's stationery vouchers. It's basically a project where 50% is dedicated for the Syrian refugees and 50% has been given to the Lebanese families. And by these vouchers, families are able to purchase the needed stationeries in order to support their children by going back to school. And here we are always taking in consideration the whole situation, that all the prices in the market are increasing due to the exchange rate issue. The third small project we supported from these Relief Lebanon funds is basically after Beirut blast that we are going to talk about separately. After Beirut blast, there was a big number of volunteers going into Beirut, managed by the Lebanese army, the Lebanese Red Cross, and the Lebanese Civil Defense. These big numbers of volunteers needed a certain type of logistic support. CPS, with the coordination of all the other NGOs, the UN agencies, and the international organizations, supported for a certain time by providing drinking water for these volunteers in order to keep continuing their work as volunteers inside Beirut after the big explosion that we are going to talk about. We are continuing receiving funds under Relief Lebanon, and we are making sure to generate the necessary reports, financial and narrative reports on how this money is spent in a very transparent way and according to the needs inside Lebanon. 4 August 2020, Beirut, Lebanon. It was not a normal day inside one of the most beautiful capitals in the Middle East. Beirut witnessed one of the biggest explosions in the world in the history of the explosions. At 6 p.m. that day, Beirut blast took place. Around 350,000 families were displaced. More than 200 houses, homes, apartments were totally destroyed. 4 of the biggest hospitals inside Lebanon, they were almost done. Nothing was there. Up till now, more than 250 died in this explosion, and more than 6,000 have been injured. We still have 4 missing people in this explosion that they were not found. The explosion took place in Beirut port. We all saw the videos, we all saw the pictures, but what a lot of people did not saw is basically the pain that the families and the most vulnerable families are experiencing now inside Beirut. Winter is coming. Most of the places were not repaired because most of the people and the families inside Beirut, in the area where the explosion took place, are very poor families, and they are not able to repair their own houses. This took us into another level of crisis in Beirut and in Lebanon in general. With all the economic situation and the political situation inside the country, Beirut blast was a disaster for the country. Since the day one, CPS took the initiative and went to the field and started doing some volunteering work, some basic volunteering work, until we reached the fourth or the fifth day after the explosion, where we launched our Beirut Hope project. You're gonna see the video related to Beirut Hope project. However, up till now, CPS is able to support 100 family during this week in order to start repairing their houses, and that by providing cash through debit cards generated from the banks. And we will be doing a certain type of monitoring with the support of other NGOs and the local authority in order to make sure that the families we are choosing to support are the most vulnerable families and the families in need. Our target in this project is 1,000 families. This is a very big number, and we only reached 100 now, and we count on all the generous funds that we are keep receiving from different countries in the world in order to move forward and reach our target in as 1,000 families. As most of you know, CPS is not only working in Lebanon, but also working inside Syria and serving in the areas under war and where our churches exist there. However, okay, Ya Allah. Okay. As most of you know, CPS is not only working in Lebanon. CPS is also serving in Syria. In the past 8 months, there was a delay in CPS intervention inside Syria, and that because mainly the COVID-19 pandemic, the border closure, and the lockdown. However, we did not leave Syria alone, and we took 2 projects under our management. The first one is a scholarship project. This scholarship project was funded by HEX and was managed before by Nestle for the past years. Now CPS is kicking off this project at the beginning of the new school year. And this will be the big week for CPS to start this project. The other project is also supporting a back-to-school campaign by providing into 7 areas across Syria through Nestle churches there, and one of them is Hasaka in the north. And we supported the back-to-school by also providing stationery vouchers for the students inside registered in our Sunday schools and other vulnerable families. Officially, this project is the first CPS project inside Syria, and we are looking forward for more. The last part of this presentation, we will need to brief you a little bit about CPS target, vision, and what are our plans for the coming year. As a first year of CPS, we're supposed to focus more on our capacity building, on building our own policies that meet the international standards of other organizations and the humanitarian sector that we are aiming for. However, due to the circumstances in both countries, in Syria and Lebanon, we had to take many actions by launching several projects in order to support on the field level the most vulnerable families between refugees, Lebanese hosting communities, and Syrian families inside Syria. However, we are looking forward to build CPS capacity into 2 ways. The first one, our staff. We have a full structure that we will be putting in place, and this is where we will need support in recruiting staff and support in training this staff in order to cover all the projects CPS is managing currently and aiming to launch very soon. The second part is building our own policies that could meet the international humanitarian sector standards in many ways, such as procurement policies, finance policies, logistics policies, operational policies, human resources policies, and others. This work has to be in parallel with all the work that we are doing and the support that we are providing in the humanitarian sector in both countries at the moment. So this is one of the challenges that we need to face, is by building our capacity and at the same time managing this number of projects and launching more, because both countries need more support. We have a lot of vulnerable families in both countries that they are counting on any support they can receive. And this is where we cannot, as CPS, just stand and watch until we build our capacity. So we are moving with both together. Also, we have several projects that we are aiming to launch in the coming year, and we hope to have a certain level of stability in both countries, so we can focus on launching these development projects. There is a lot of ideas. We are hungry to serve in the humanitarian sector and take our place as CPS and keep on going the work that have been done by NASL for the past year and move it into another level of professionalism. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for your support. I'm Zyade, Compassion Protestant Society Executive Director.